Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. The 76ers fall to the Golden State Warriors, but I'm not going to lie. A little bit of me just enjoyed that from a pure basketball fan perspective, and I don't even give a damn about the loss, considering you don't have Tobias Harris, you don't have Ben Simmons, and at this point, I know what the 76ers are. Nothing is going to change my opinion on who they can be, how they're going to play. You've seen their identity for quite some time now. This is the backstretch where you're just waiting for the playoffs, and nothing is seriously going to change that much. If you beat this team, if you beat the Milwaukee Bucks, if you beat the Phoenix Suns, if you beat any team out there, I already know how this team can play. I know how special Joel Embiid is. I know how important Tobias Harris is to this fourth quarter stretch and to the half-court offense. I know what Ben Simmons means defensively. I know that all. So a regular season game isn't going to change much of my opinion anymore. So when I'm watching this, I'm not getting flustered. I'm not getting truly bothered. I'm watching Steph Curry hit 90-foot jumpers. That's at least what it felt like, right? Now, should Joel Embiid get up a bit more in Steph Curry's face when he's taking those shots? You have to take that away from him. Yeah, probably. I'm not in love with the way that they approach that. But even when Joel did get up a bit towards the end, guess what? He was cooking, and there was no stopping that man. In the beginning of the game, it was a beautiful Seth versus Steph matchup, and all I could think about was how many times they did this in their backyard, growing up, shooting threes in each other's faces. And Seth started out the game being the hotter guy, being the hotter shooter. Well, you know the rest of the story. Steph became Steph Curry, 49 points. That was ridiculous. He shot 10 for 17. 10 for 17 from three. 14 of 28 from the floor. It was just ridiculous. That was the Steph Curry. When he first came into the league, and when he was dominating the way that we still see him do today, but when we were first falling in love with that style of play out of Steph, there was this feel of, holy hell, I can't not watch this man. I have to be dialed in every game. I need to tune into the Golden State Warriors. When it was a 10 o'clock, 10:30 game, an ESPN game, a national broadcast game. Hell, he was so lethal that he made you go to one of those illegal websites where you would stream the game and click out of 10,000 ads just so you could watch what he would do every night. I somewhat had that giddy feeling again watching him play the way he played tonight, where he was cool, calm, and collected, dribbling the ball up, and seriously, from the logo at points, it seemed, just confidently taking that shot. And the crazy part is, when it was happening, it was a 2-point game. It was a 1-point game. It was a 4-point game. And those are good looks. Those are okay shots. If you're Steve Kerr, because I'm sitting in my head thinking, if I'm a coach and I have a guy, because for every shot that he drills when it's that beautiful and that amazing and that astonishing, there's shots that he misses and it cranks off the iron, right? It clanks off the iron, I should say. It hits off the backboard. Maybe it's a little short and it hits the front rim. So for every unreal one, there's some ugly ones as well. But you live with the ugly ones. But I'm just putting myself in Steve Kerr's shoes. You have the green light whenever you want, and it's one possession game, 2 possession games, and here he is just letting it fly from so damn deep, an irresponsible amount of feet away from the basket. But it doesn't matter because it's Steph Curry, and I just loved it. I honestly have to admit, tonight's one of these nights where I just admire what I watched. I'm just appreciating the moment. You're watching the best three-point shooter we have ever seen, while on the other side, not specifically tonight, but we watch a point guard that's what, plus 1,700, plus 1,800 to hit 1 3 in an NBA basketball game. And I really don't want to put anything towards Ben when watching Steph play, because nobody's Steph Curry. Even as phenomenal as Damian Lillard is and how he's amazing in crunch time and it's game time and he's a bulldog, He's not even at the level of Steph Curry. Steph Curry is his own unique individual that is an outstanding basketball player who is ridiculous. I'm just looking at it from a pure threat perspective of imagine having a ball handler that's actually a threat. So by no means am I saying to a Steph Curry level. He is a very unique man, and there will only be one Steph Curry ever, and that's it. I'm just saying, which is probably, 99.8% of this league? Imagine your ball handler being able to create the way that Steph Curry creates, the way that Kyrie creates, the way that James Harden creates, the way that majority of point guards create in this league. Chris Paul creates. Any guard in general creates. It's night and day with what you can run, and sometimes I just ponder. That's all. There are times where I ponder. And yes, if you were thinking there's no way in hell Brodes is going to bitch and complain about Ben Simmons in a game where he's not on the floor, well, I did sure find a way to. And I do think you lost his defense out there. I mean, that's inevitable, right? Would he be able to keep up with Steph Curry? Probably not. So for anyone to think that Steph Curry would have had a night of 18 points because Ben Simmons was going to play, let's just go back to the tape against a De'Aaron Fox, against some of these guards, a Colin Sexton. There's these smaller guards that give Ben Simmons a little bit of hell. Now, Steph Curry doesn't have that same level of insane explosiveness as some of the guards that I just mentioned, but it's Steph Curry. I promise you, he would find a way in his own style of play to be able to generate over a Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons wasn't locking this man up on tonight. All right, tonight was a game where he was in his bag. He was delivering. I think he definitely elevated his game, knowing he was going up against his brother as well. Keep in mind, Steph has been playing this way for a serious stretch as it is, so this isn't random. This isn't out there. Steph Curry has been doing this, but when you see your brother on the other side and you know Doc put him on him to kind of make a statement early on, have some fun with it, let's go rock with it, let's go compete. Well, I'm sure there was an internal battle with himself too, going, there's no way I'm allowing my brother to kick my ass. It just ain't happening. And he sure disrespected his brother by the end of the day with essentially a 50-burger on the night. So yes, Ben Simmons, the loss of Ben Simmons tonight, it did matter. Not having Tobias Harris, it did matter. I thought Joel Embiid, for the most part, played a very smart game. There were a couple things here and there that you can look at, but for the most part, he passed the ball when he needed to pass the ball. How professional is he now when it comes to feeling the pressure that the other team is sending? No matter what way it's coming from, no matter where it's coming from, no matter how many guys, he's passing the basketball in the right way. He finished with 8 assists tonight, which is very telling, and I think it perfectly describes the way that he was performing out there. Sometimes he would make the right pass, but you had so much slop out there on the floor. You didn't have Tobias Harris. You didn't have that extra help where it ended up not looking as good at the end of the stat sheet because of, well, you didn't get the finish. Sometimes the step 1 was good and the step 2 was good in the offensive possession. But once you got to step 3, it became a disaster. It got messy and the Sixers ended up turning it over, or there was poor transition basketball defensively again, although that has been a common theme for this team for pretty much the whole entire year now. That's something that as we start talking about playoff basketball, you need to make sure you limit those turnovers, limit those transition points, because that is going to be the death of the Philadelphia 76ers. A huge problem for this team all year long was transition defense. It has been absolutely pathetic. With Ben Simmons, without Ben Simmons, it doesn't matter. With Joel Embiid, without Joel Embiid, whoever is on the floor, they are a disgrace in that area. So that has to be dissected. That has to be a part of the game that is stressed by Doc Rivers big time as they continue to play. But you would imagine that that's already known. This isn't anything that's so eye-popping now, and all of a sudden it was thrown into everyone's face. We knew this. So I just feel if you knew that's a problem to this point and nothing has really changed, well, this is their identity. This is who they are. It's not going to change. You just have to limit it as best as you can and pray that you limiting it is the difference in the outcome of some of these playoff series or not. Going back to Joel, though, he really did not have any help at the end. 28 points. You saw whether he tried to pass it down low in the paint, and I think it was Matisse Thybulle. He couldn't handle it there. You didn't have that secondary scoring. Joel is on a tear this season, but there's only so much one individual can do. When they swarm you the way that they did, you have to get the ball out of your hands. You have to go in another direction. You have to think on your toes, think very fast, and get the ball out. And then you got to rely on that next player to deliver. They just flat out did not have that option in tonight's game. It's normally Tobias Harris, and it has been all year long. And I actually love the fact that here we are sitting in that back half of the season, and we are seeing how extremely important Tobias Harris is. It just shows the growth of him as a player, where he has now blossomed into how important it is for this team. Let's be realistic. Date back to the beginning of the season. Do you think we would have seen Tobias Harris be this important to the point where now you're losing games because he's not your closer? He's not helping out Joel Embiid be that closer. We're talking about Tobias Harris to that level, to this degree. I like that I'm here, and I'm happy that I'm here talking about Tobias Harris with this much praise, but you can see the difference. It's painful to see the difference, but it's almost that, all right, you see it now. You take it away, it makes you now appreciate what you have when it's there. The ability to have the ball in your hands, the ability to attack mismatches whenever you want. Set the pick, get your mismatch, attack. Whether it's just going to the paint, going to the rack, getting up your post-up game. And going back to Joel, I love the repost. The repost out of Joel, it's all these little tiny things. If you just study, it's sort of like, it's a little different, but I'll just throw it out there because the offensive line in football isn't the same as other positions. When you go back and watch the All-22 and you watch the offensive line play and you study the left tackle, you see different things. If you were to go back and just study something similar to the All-22 tape, obviously it would just be standard tape. But if you only focused on every little detail that Joel Embiid was doing every night, every possession, even when he didn't have the basketball, when the possession is not in his hands and he's just a part of the offensive scheme, a part of that offensive set, but he's not the primary guy, although majority of the time he is. You run your offense through Embiid for a reason, but if you were just to study every detail, the reposts, the putting the other team in foul trouble, he did what he does every single game. You got Draymond Green on him. Well, guess what? You're going to get a foul. You got the Warriors at some point in that first half going, I cannot pick up another foul. I can't do it. So they were backing away. I can't get more fouls. He ended up in the first half with 17 points. So he was exploding, and it just changes the whole dynamic of the game. And going back to Ben, that's why I'm so pissed off when he doesn't. Not only, let's take away the individual players actually scoring points at the free throw line. What happens? The team gets into the bonus. And when you get into the bonus, it changes how you have to play. Then when Danny Green or Seth Curry or Furkan Korkmaz or any other player out on the floor ends up getting a ticky-tack foul call, or they're out by the perimeter, they do a pump fake, and it's something lazy, but all those fouls add up, which then allows your teammates to then walk up to the line and have such a bigger role in the offense as well. All that matters. All those tiny little things matter. So when you talk about Ben, go, attack, dude, attack. It's not even just about Ben scoring. It's about how that changes future possessions, what that means for guys like Danny and Seth, and for the entire team on the floor. The bench guys, how that helps out the bench guys when they get on the floor. Maybe it helps them get into the rhythm where their first possession of their game, they end up getting fouled. The team's already in the bonus. Well, then what do you know? Your bench players walking up to the line and cashing in shots. It all starts with the mentality of the game, the IQ of Joel Embiid, knowing that and studying that and realizing that, and early on just saying, I'm going to be me. I'm going to repost. You're going to foul me and all that. So it's just huge. It's huge to see that in Joel. It's unfortunate that he wasn't able to carry this squad all the way to the finish line by himself, but it's somewhat obvious that he wasn't going to be able to do that. I did see around third quarter or so, one of those inbound plays underneath the 76ers basket. So the Warriors were actually inbounding. And Joel, for a little bit of time, as the refs were figuring out where the ball was going to be inbounded from, he was huffing and puffing, hands on his knees, leaning over for, I'd say, like a good 40 to 45 seconds, which I'm not going to knock a guy for being tired. I think we're seeing a little bit of effects from not playing with the bone bruise. He's got time. He's got games to run up and down the floor to be able to get his conditioning back, but it was pretty glaring. It was pretty noticeable, and it relates to how the game went at the end where he's getting double-teamed and he couldn't do much, and he had to pass the ball up, and his teammates weren't helping. I think it's all kind of a correlation, if you will, with how the ending went down for sure. But, yeah, I mean, look, entertaining game when it comes to Doc Rivers. I see Sixers Twitter. I can't believe Glenn Rivers is screwing this one up. He costed this team the game with his poor this and his poor that. Stop. You went up against the guy in Steph Curry who was amazing. You didn't have Ben Simmons. You didn't have Tobias Harris. The alternative, whatever the alternative was, I don't personally believe the fix was there. It's one of those games where a superstar is a superstar and you have a lack of talent because of illness and because of a little bit of some knee lingering issues, and so be it. It was more of a so be it game than, wow, Glenn Rivers really got annihilated out there from a coaching perspective. No, I thought the superstar in Steph Curry was making ridiculous shots and being an elite player, and that was the difference in the game, more so than Doc Rivers. That doesn't mean I loved everything Doc Rivers did. I didn't love everything Doc Rivers did. But I don't think Doc Rivers had all the solutions on his roster tonight and decided not to do it instead. I think it was more of a product of what players showed up, what players didn't show up on the court itself. And one of those players is Shake Milton. Shake Milton has been absolutely horrendous, unplayable. You ready for this statement? Are you ready for this statement? Furkan Korkmaz deserves to play over Shake Milton in any sort of very tiny, limited playoff role. You heard me. Now, I don't even think that it should be much. The impact of Furkan Korkmaz, even I know Doc is going to play him. It's inevitable. I can see it. So I'm basing this off of Doc Rivers' philosophy, not so much mine, because you know where I would be. But knowing how Doc Rivers is playing this thing out, knowing how Doc Rivers sees Furkan right now, Shake Milton is not good enough. He's unreliable. He's lost. I can't stand Furkan. At least he's playing with confidence. He's not afraid to shoot it. He's actually making some of his threes. Now, the difference is he's starting right now. So when you see him make these threes, those threes, all these threes, he's going to be getting 6 minutes in the playoffs. So the level of impact that you can make in 5 minutes, whenever Doc gives him his chance, I truly think Doc is going to give him a chance to do it. And when he does, it's not going to be for 25, 28, 30 minutes where he's going to have a chance to get up 7 threes. When the defense is crazy and heavy and these stars are on the other side, Furkan's going to get swarmed and it's not even going to be close to the same. And then eventually what I see playing out is he's going to be a disaster too, and then he's going to lose his spot and he's not going to play ever again in the playoffs. But to start, I think Doc will at least hand him a chance to say, you earned it in the regular season. I'll give you that opportunity. But if you fail, it's a quick hook and you're off and we're going in another direction. But I am at the point now where I think Shake is that miserable. He's that egregious. He's that pathetic on the floor right now where he is an unplayable piece. Unplayable piece. And when you look at the rotation, you got your 5 guys. You got George Hill, which tonight it's so hard to really put it into perspective of what George Hill was. Here's a guy who's coming off of a surgery. Now he's on a new team. You don't have Ben Simmons. You don't have Tobias Harris, and you're getting thrown into the fire. I saw some things I liked. Obviously, I saw some things I didn't like where Steph Curry's crossing him up a bit and hitting him with a nice, beautiful, how do you do with the dribble and the handles and cushion a three. He did the same thing to Matisse Thybulle, though, who wasn't excellent defensively at times. But who stops this man? Nobody stops this man. Matisse Thybulle is one of the best defenders you got, right? He's one of the best defenders you got. He's getting juked out of his shoes. No one's stopping Steph Curry. That's why he's the talent that he is. Getting back to the rotation, though, you know you're starting 5. George Hill, Dwight Howard. That's 7. You got Matisse, Furkan, Shake. Those are your 3 guys that you got to find a way to see what you're going to do. 8 guys, 9 guys, what's it going to be? Is it going to depend on the game, depend on the matchup, depend on the flow, things of that nature? I don't know. I mean, you know Matisse is going to play defensively. How does that work with the Furkan? I mean, the best way, I had Kevin Kincaid on. He covers the Sixers for Crossing Broad. I had him on my show on Sunday on 97.5 The Fanatic, and he said he thinks it's going to be like 8.5, if you will, which obviously sounds a little silly considering how do you have half a person out there, but that's kind of how you see it. Now, he alluded to maybe Furkan being the guy out, which in theory makes the most sense to me, but Shake is that bad. He's that bad, and he's been that bad for majority of the season, where I'm looking the other way. Seriously, I am looking the other way. He is not confident. He's not making good decisions. He's not the Shake Milton that deserves the time. He's just not. Sorry. That's how I see it right now. Talking about Doc, though, and what he did with some of his rotations, he put Mike Scott out there, realized that they were ignoring Mike Scott because of the double teams to Joel, and to me, it's like, hey, that means there's an opportunity maybe to get it to Mike Scott for him to shoot the threes, but he looked at it as, hey, I can get Matisse Thybulle in there because you're really disrespecting the shooter anyway, so why not have someone out there like Matisse who might not be this offensive threat, but they're kind of leaving that guy open anyway. We're not getting the ball to him, so we'll put someone out there like Matisse. And I thought Matisse offensively, he gave you 13 and 7 rebounds, that is. He gave you 13 points. He was minus 17, though, so there was something wrong. I alluded to, how Steph Curry is and all. It was not his best defensive performance. He did have a couple things here and there. He had that really nice play that started on the defensive end, and he gives you that windmill two-handed dunk. Are you kidding me? I almost lost my damn mind. I was screaming around my basement. What? Did Matisse really do that? Sheesh. I hit you with that. I hit you with the TikTok. I hit you with that. I think that's what they say, right? I don't know. I'm not a big TikTok guy. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think that's what the young kids do these days, right? They do the thing with the arm and they point the fingers towards their veins. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm done with that. But that was something that Doc Rivers elected to do when he saw an opportunity to kind of in-game adjust. And he also went with Maxey over Shake Milton. And Tyrese Maxey was just attacking. That's another name that I left out with that 8-9-man rotation type of conversation, but I don't think Maxey's ready. He's got a long way to go. I think he's an exciting young player, but if you're talking about getting thrown into some playoff minutes, I just don't think he's ready for that yet, so I don't even think he's really in the pure conversation, although if Shake Milton is this abysmal, is Doc thinking that? I don't know. It's hard for me to really believe that Tyrese Maxey is going to get any sort of action when all season long he was struggling to get regular season minutes for a reason, because he's just not there yet. All right, before we go to the Anytime Hotline calls, I do need to tell you about my friends over at DraftKings. Masvidal and Usman put on a show the last time they stepped into the octagon. Round 2 is sure to pack a punch. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC, is putting you in the center of this weekend's title fight with 26-1 odds on either title contender to reign victorious. Pick either main event fighter to win during this weekend's UFC 261 title fight, and DraftKings Sportsbook will give you 26-1 odds. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $5 into $130. If the title contender of your choice wins, place your bet and watch the fist fly this weekend. That's code Brodes to turn $5 into $130 if the fighter of your choosing takes home the crown. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's make sure I pull up the right ones here, because we had a shit ton of Phillies calls tonight, and it was mixed in with the batch of Sixers calls, so I kind of had to separate them the best I could, and I couldn't stop the sadness tonight because people were sad.
Tough loss for the Sixers tonight, but Steph Curry was just unbelievable. I mean, everything was on net. I don't think he hit rim all night. And we had no answer. If we had Ben Simmons, I think we win the game pretty easily. I think he holds them to 33. so that's 12 points or whatever. Joel Embiid did all he could. He was the only good Sixers player on the court. So they were just double, triple teaming him. Still had 28. I thought he had a good game for what it was. And George Hill debut got a little going at the end, and I thought Maxey and Thibault looked a lot better than Shake Milton tonight.
I'll disagree with you that Ben Simmons being on the floor and Ben Simmons easily would have won this game because Steph would have been held to maybe 30 instead of 49. When you're unbelievable in this league, you match that intensity. Steph Curry is so elite, and he's such a great talent that he matches Ben Simmons and what he brings to the table defensively. I think Ben would. I think he could probably do better than what he does with De'Aaron Fox in terms of that explosiveness, that first step, that first real kick to the basket when they explode, those smaller guards like a Fox, like a Colin Sexton. I don't know if Steph really does have that level to him, but he has so many other tricks in his trade, and he's got so many different variables that stop. But the handles and all, there's no way that I can sit in this chair tonight after the game and say Ben Simmons would have held him to 35, 33, and we would have easily won with Ben Simmons. It changes everything. Everything. Everything is completely different with Ben out there, even offensively for the Sixers. They struggled now. Imagine if they struggled even more in the half-court sets because of Ben Simmons and his flaw. I mean, everything changes with Ben on the floor. You don't know what you're going to get. But to say, and the way I say that could almost make it seem like, well, the whole game changes. Maybe they do win. I'm almost saying I'm saying it more in terms of Steph Curry changes as well. He could change for the better. He can even elevate himself with a different mentality and a different approach, knowing that Ben is going to be defending him, that he's even wired at a more elite pace, that he's even ready to maybe expose Ben Simmons. I'll take that matchup. When you're a scorer the way he's a scorer, you look at defenders and you laugh. And you feel so good about the way that you're playing, especially on the ride that he's on, where it's laughing at Ben. It's, okay, yeah, you think you're going to stop me? Watch this. And then he does his magic. Yeah, would he be better than your options out there on the floor tonight? Of course he would be. But to say it easily would have been a win because Ben Simmons would have been out there, I can't say it. There's no way in hell that this heart of mine would ever be able to make that type of statement. That's just me personally. Absolutely not. I just can't do it.
You know, I'm not even mad. Just gotta tip your cap to Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time. He is so underappreciated. He is on one of the greatest hot streaks we will ever see. And, you know, down Simmons and Tobias, Embiid, they are giving him the work at times. So he'll put up 28. You just got to tip your cat. He was making some ridiculous shots, and our guys weren't. George Hill got out there, looked bad. Hope to see him improve. Shake Milton.
He will. He definitely will. Hold on. It looked like you were going to go off on Shake Milton there. I apologize. Let's get back to where we were in that call, and I'll hit play. I apologize.
Shake Milton looked even worse. Just can't wait to see this team fully healthy and locked in mode and ready to go.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm at the point now where I'm over it. I'm over the regular season, and I feel that way 15, 20 games into a regular season. That's how much stock I put into these games. But now it's even worse. So hopefully, before you know it, we blink our eyeballs and we're in the postseason for sure. In terms of George Hill and where he's at, the guy just had surgery. He's never played with this team before. There's no way in hell that I'm going to really criticize him, really dive that deep into his performance fully. You did hear Doc Rivers, though, after the game mention how four guards might dive a little bit deeper into that category of four guards with Joel Embiid now that you have those options. And also just look for the creativity of Doc Rivers with some of his new lineups and what he's going to toy with and what he's going to try and maybe how he can do something different to maybe change what other teams have to do. Now squads have to make a different counter if you go with the four guards and have Joel Embiid. He did not dive into specifics heavily, just definitely was tossed out there. That is for sure. All right, let's take one more call.
Obviously, pretty sad loss. You know, we were there the whole game. Curry just goes crazy. No Tobias, no Ben. I'm not gonna overreact, obviously. Sometimes, man, you just gotta appreciate like greatness. I think, Jesus Christ, Steph Curry, he's good at basketball, man.
He definitely is good at basketball. You know what's crazy? When you watch that, it's cool because it's a different way. It's a different style. But that's what Joel's been doing all night. When he puts up, or all season, I should say. When he puts up 40 plus, when he gives you 42, when he gives you 39, when he gives you 47, when he gives you this, when he gives you that. Joel's been doing that. We're just so used to seeing it through the big man that watching it with a player like Steph, it's almost a whole new perspective on it where it's like, damn, that's what it's like to be. And also we have Ben Simmons. So I think we're just so tied to this style of play, which I'm fine with. I don't give a damn what style of play you play as long as you're winning basketball games. So I don't care if it's through the big man. I don't care if it's through the way that the Sixers play, if it's Danny Green hitting the threes and not Steph Curry, your primary point guard. It doesn't matter to me how it's done. Just get it done. But because we're so accustomed for how many games so far this season for it to be through a center, through small ball, through bully ball, through getting your back down low, and sure, there's 3-point shooting in the mix. I'm not making it seem like there's not. Danny Green's been a huge part of this. Tobias has been a huge part of this. But we see it get run through a face-up game, in the mid-range game, and getting down low on the low block. It was almost refreshing to watch a dude do it to you with that type of damage, with that type of threat, with that type of skill set, with the way that we have watched basketball for X amount of games so far this season. I don't know how many games are technically in at this point. I lost a little bit of track, but I do know that it's coming to an end, and I can't wait for it to come to an end. What you have next, though, you got a pretty brutal stretch. There's no denying it, so it's not the best to fall to the Warriors because that could possibly be your easiest matchup. You have a back-to-back, and you have the Phoenix Suns, and you have the Milwaukee Bucks. And I mentioned Joel Embiid huffing and puffing down the way as he had his hands on his knees. Are you going to see Joel Embiid play both? Are you going to see this team fully healthy? Are you going to have Tobias Harris? I do know the Brooklyn Nets, though, lost Kevin Durant again with the thigh problem, another lingering issue. I don't know what that means for the long term of the Brooklyn Nets, but it just becomes more and more problematic as they play more and more basketball games, which is probably why they elected to not play their players against the Sixers because they think that's more important than throwing them out there in these pretty much, like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not important. Pretty much a game that means nothing. Why would they do that if these type of lingering issues keep coming up? I don't know. All right, there you have it, though. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.